Hello, and welcome to another edition of Making Sense with Dr. Stacy. For those who don't know me and are joining me for the first time, my name is Dr. Stacy Betancourt. I am a PhD in Advanced Studies of Social Human Behavior. We are talking in a series about divorce, and I talked last week about communication. So if you haven't seen that one yet, I recommend that you go in and take a look because this will make a little more sense, being that it's kind of in a cycle. So what we're looking at is the second part of communication. And the idea of communication may seem very simple because it just takes listening, right? Well, maybe there was a time, but we're so inundated with devices and interruptions and gotta go, gotta do that your brain is not always really focused on the person speaking. And this is something that is so key in any facet of life. But in a divorce situation, it is absolutely imperative that you hear with your whole self. So I'm going to give you a couple of things today that you can do for those of you that have a hard time taking your turn in listening. And sometimes we do, all of us do that. We talk over someone, we interrupt because we're so excited, or we have such a connection to something that was said that we just jump right in. And sometimes it's very hard. So one of the things that I do with my clients is when I am working specifically in a divorce situation is I arm them with paper, pen, pad, whatever it is, to help them to not only listen completely, but when something is said that's a trigger or something that you can really associate with, you want to write those things down. And I'm not saying that you're writing an entire dissertation or massive sentences. You are literally just writing trigger words, things that you don't want to forget and be able to address. Now, in a deep discussion, such as those that can come with divorce, it's kind of a methodology of mediation, which, as a certified mediator, it's teaching the clients how to listen completely and getting their points across as well, because your opinions, your voices, your desires, all of it is so pivotal and so important. It's important to be heard. And what's interesting about the idea of divorce, while we're kind of on the subject, is that sometimes marriages dissolve because of a lack of communication. And if it's something that can be helped, why not try it? So one of the things that I do and what I encourage is the idea of the reflective listening. And for some people, I'm going to be honest, including myself, when I was first trained in the methods, it felt very odd. It didn't feel natural. Because what we're doing in that kind of situation is we are forced to listen to the other person. And that's putting our impulses to jump in aside. So when you are communicating, and obviously you're not going to be carrying note paper and pens around with you all the time, but what you want to start doing is when you hear something that is a trigger, you want to do something physical and very discreet in a sense. For me, I will tap my pinky. It sounds funny, but you're actually dealing with the nerve endings. So sometimes those things will help. I also do something where I kind of like do something with my finger, and that helps too. Things that I don't want to forget, and I want to wait for the natural, appropriate ending of someone's conversation in order to add to it. It's in a formal situation, it is literally sitting at a table together and listening to each side. Now, as a mediator, I help couples in making sure that they let each other take turns. And it's interesting because instead of a mediator, sometimes I'm a moderator, and making sure that people are really listening to what's being said and truly giving your best self to the listener and also to the speaker. And as a speaker in your communication, try not, as emotional as it can be, especially in a divorce situation, try not to monopolize. Your feelings and opinions are important, but so are the emotions and the opinions of your spouse that you are possibly separating and divorcing from. It could also be a beneficial situation when you are trying to salvage the relationship. It can be very beneficial in life in general, communicating, being present in the moment. One of the worst things for me when I am talking to someone else is seeing them like this. Are they really listening to me? No, because they're busy on their cell phone. When you're having a conversation with people, please be present. It is the most simplest act. And in these times, the most easiest gift you can give to another person. And that is the gift of being fully present in the moment and really engaging in conversation and listening and reflecting, clarifying. Don't be afraid to clarify. Because sometimes if you don't want to clarify, or you feel embarrassed, or you're not sure how to approach it, you can actually cause more harm than good. So being honest and letting the person know, I'm not really understanding where you're coming from. I don't know how to associate with what you're talking about. Being honest with that form of communication, that verbal communication, makes a difference. Your visual presence in communication makes a big difference. I can be very, very animated in these videos, and if you go back and look, you'll see that. Isn't that a little more enjoyable than having me sit very proper and address you as such with no changes in intonation to my voice? You would scroll right on, right? And I wouldn't blame you. The reality is, when you are present with somebody and you are engaged in a conversation, no matter how serious, no matter how deep, no matter how painful, be present. Be present. Put the phone down. Be present. Make sure that you are honoring that person. And again, thinking about the triangle that I showed you a couple of videos ago regarding the idea of divorce. Communication and divorce is so key. Sometimes communication is the reason you're getting divorced, just as like I said a moment ago. It's learning how to communicate, giving your full presence to the speaker. And in return, when someone is listening to you and they are fully present in the moment, give them the same respect. Honor them with the same respect. It's clarifying. It's discussing. It's reflective. It's being present. So this portion, this subject, can not only be so very key in the idea of divorce, but you know what? It can serve you so well in the rest of your life. Give it a try. It takes practice, believe it or not. Listening nowadays takes practice. So I challenge you to practice. And at that, what I want to say is that if you have any questions or comments or anything that you'd like to see or like me to add, please put them in the comments below. I do read them. If you need my help in communication, I can help you with that, helping you to train your behaviors, your habits, breaking the habits that are not making you an effective listener, because sometimes you may agree to something that you had no idea you were agreeing to because you were not fully present. So exercise that. Remember to be your best self. Do something good for yourself. Honor yourself. Be good to others. And I'll see you next week. Take care, everyone.